Hello, hello, hello. Grace, peace, and love to everybody watching this video. And this video is about the existence of Jesus Christ being mentioned outside of the Bible. This is a very foundational fact that us as Christians could use as ammo when spreading the gospel. So I don't want this to be too long, so I'm just going to try to break this down really quickly. But follow along and let's get into this. All right. Now, this guy's name is Cornelius Tacitus. Now, he was a Roman historian and politician, and I even think he was an emperor at one point. I believe he was. Now, Tacitus, he was completely against Christians. He did not like Christians. I almost believe that he hated Christians. I mean, when we read this passage, you'll see what I mean. He hated Christians. Now, he wrote a book called The Annals. It's The Annals, Annals, I believe. And in this book, in a passage, he mentions and confirms the death and crucifixion and even the resurrection, I believe, of Jesus Christ. But we're going to get into the passage right now. Let's get right into it. Now, this is what he wrote. He said, "Such indeed were the precautions of human wisdom. The next thing was to seek means of propitiating the gods." Now, let me break this down. Propitiating means to appease. So he's saying the next thing was to seek means of appeasing the gods. Next, he says, and recourse was had to the sublime books, or sublime books, by the direction of which prayers were offered to Vulcanus, Ceres, and Proserpina, and Juno too. Now, the sublime books, these were books of pagan gods that the Roman Empire actually worshipped. Like, they worshipped these false gods. And the false gods are right here. Vulcanus, which is literally a volcano, Ceres, Proserpina, and Juno. You following along? It says two was entreated by the matron. Now, entreated means to ask someone to do something anxiously. And matrons are sophisticated married women. So what he's saying here is that they use matrons to go ask Christians to go appease these gods. And you'll see what I mean as we read along. Now, these matrons first went in the capital to do this, then on the nearest part of the coast, whence water was procured to sprinkle the fane and image of the goddess. Now, the word procured, that means to obtain preciously. And fane is a shrine. So what he's saying here is water was preciously obtained to sprinkle on the shrine and image of the goddess, a false god. Moving along, and he says, and there were sacred banquets and nightly vigils celebrated by married women. Now he says, but all human efforts, all the lavish gifts of the emperor, and the propitiations of the gods did not banish the sinister belief that the conflagration was the result of order. Now, conflagration means fire, a dangerous, severe fire coming down, which actually happened in Rome. And they believe that this happened because of the Christians. That's what he's saying. You can go look up the conflagration of Rome. Please, I implore you. Now, I know it's cut off a bit, but it says, consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations called Christians by the populace. So right now he's saying Nero, the emperor of Rome at the time, he inflicted a very exquisite and severe torture on Christians. That's what he's saying right now. It's about to get real good, y'all. Christus, talking about Jesus, that's Jesus in Latin. That's Christ. That's where it comes from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate. Every Christian knows what he's saying right now. I don't think I need to explain this. But for those that aren't Christian and don't know, he's literally saying that Jesus got crucified by Pontius Pilate, and that's exactly what the Bible say. Remember, this is not the Bible. Moving on, and in most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out, not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular. So he's calling Christianity a superstition that broke out from Judea and spread to Rome. Hallelujah. This is so good. Now it says, accordingly, an arrest was first made of all who pleaded guilty. Then, upon their information, an immense multitude was convicted. Not so much as the crime of firing the city, because they literally thought that it was because of the Christians that the conflagration happened in Rome, as of hatred against mankind. Now, honestly, this is where it's really sad. It's really sad, and I almost broke down in tears reading this last night. Mockery of every sort was added to their deaths. Covered with the skins of beasts, they were torn by dogs and perished, or were nailed to crosses, or were doomed to the flames and burnt, to serve as nightly illumination. Ill, when daylight had expired. Nero offered his gardens for the spectacle and was exhibiting a show in the circus while he mingled with the people in the dress of a charioteer or stood aloft on a car. Peep this. Hence, even for criminals who deserved extreme and exemplary punishment, there arose a feeling of compassion for criminals. They had compassion for criminals because of the hate they had for Christians. For it was not, as it seemed, for the public good, but the glut, one man's cruelty, that they were being destroyed. Now, again, that last part is like, honestly, it's heartaching. Like it is heartbreaking. But this is powerful for us as Christians, because after reading this passage, this is exactly what Tacitus is confirming. The Christians being blamed are named after a historical person called Christus, Latin for Christ. Remember, I told y'all that this Christus, suffered the extreme penalty, which is a reference to Jesus' crucifixion. Go look at Luke 23. The execution was carried out by Pontius Pilate, just as we've seen in the New Testament. And Christianity, which Tacitus refers to as a most mischievous superstition, was spreading in Judea and even Rome. So to wrap this video up, next time somebody tell you that Jesus is just some fairy tale, or you can't prove Jesus outside of the Bible, you pull up Cornelius Tacitus and you tell them that this man literally hated Christians, yet confirms the gospel of Jesus Christ. Come on, y'all. I hope this helps. And God bless y'all. Grace, peace, and love. I know this was kind of long. I tried to make it as short as possible. But God bless y'all. Don't follow me. Follow Jesus.